Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man Rising, Neil, Brian, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey,
Good morning. Hello, ¿cómo está?
Buenos días, buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Qué tal? Muy bien. Right. We're going to do a video today. We haven't done one for a while, and it's a video that's about science. It's not just a theory. And the videographer is someone, as always, that we'd like you to go along and just let them know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So I'm going to do immediately so that we do actually cover this in the show and don't get too sidetracked with other fascinating discussion points that we do have here daily. I'm going to put a link to their video so you can go to them while we're chit-chatting in the intro and say, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, love your stuff, left you a like, all that kind of nice stuff that won't get your comment removed. But this is the Royal Institution. That's the name of the videographer. Let's just let in whoever that is. Adam. Hey, Adam. But yeah, let me know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You'll see a link to this going by in the live stream chat right now. So if you want to do it immediately, that would be handy. I have been tempted because I don't actually go and check if anybody's done this. I assume you have, but if it's not the case, I might have to actually physically do it on the show with me saying Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so you can do as I do, so to speak. But I assume that people are actually doing this and letting these various videographers know with a little comment. Are you presenting to speak immediately, Adam? Is there something you want to cover before we even get to this video? I haven't even pressed play yet.
This is just Brian.
Just Brian? How dare you demean yourself in such a manner? Brian's logic with something very important on screen, I assure you. Go ahead, Brian, what is it?
I know, it's like something very fast. If I finish doing your intros before you go play the video. Yeah, it's just a thing about altimeters. Because I just looked up and as a tertiary research, the max height an altimeter will work at is 100,000 feet. So that means they don't have a clue after 100,000 feet what height something is at. They must be just calculating it. That's what, as far as I know. I looked into some of it before. I think they're just calculating it. But 100,000 feet is the max for an altimeter to stop working at, because they don't have the air pressure to get a reading. But these are just different types of types of altitude. Sorry, it keeps moving faster. So you have absolute altitude, the height of an aircraft above the terrain, right, that they're flying over. Indicated altitude after setting the altimeter, the current altimeter setting. This is the uncorrected altitude, blah, blah, blah. True altitude is the height above mean sea level. Pressure altitude is to do with based off the pressure and different things. You have density altitude based off the density, which would involve temperature. There's more I have to say about this, but the only thing I want to show right now is GPS altitude. GPS altitude is a measure taken from, and therefore in reference to, the GPS satellite constellation. Since pressure readings past the pilots are taken on the ground, atmospherics will guarantee a disparity between GPS altitude and pressure altitude as altitude increases. Although GPS altitude can be highly accurate, it is usually not referenced while in flight. This ensures all aircraft are using the same reference, and any error from pressure settings is generally shared across all aircraft. If GPS altitude is so accurate, highly accurate, why are they not all using it? That to me makes no sense. If it's so accurate, then they would be using it. Makes no sense to me. That's what I wanted to say.
I'm sure I'll get some comments in the live stream once it's finished going up, and you can leave comments. I don't know if you can leave comments while the show's actually live. That's something I'll check. But either way, I'll pass them on to you, Brian. This is the kind of thing that would be triggering fundamentalist religious ball-believing zealots over on your channel. But when they come here, I'll let you know.
Well, if we have GPS satellites up above us and they're highly accurate, why are you not using them? Do you know what I mean? Makes no sense. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
That's may I comment?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same thing, Brian. Why do you need helium balloons for satellites?
Yeah.
Okay, so feel free to field your comments in the info box below the video. In the meantime, as I say, the link to this channel's gone by in the last few minutes just before Brian's presentation. I may do it again just to make it complete with this particular bit. So go to this person's channel, let them know that we've responded to whatever it is that we're going to respond to. Now, this was a choice from 10th Man yesterday, so I don't, as always, know what this is going to be like, but we'll go in blind, as always, and we'll have a look. I assume 10th Man has actually watched this 10th, right? Do you want to give us a bit of an intro in terms of why you picked this video and why we're going to be covering it?
Well, I do watch all the videos I put there, but it's been a few days, so I don't recall. So let's just dive into it.
No, fair enough.
I know you haven't watched it.
No, definitely not. But I mean, when the person or the people who are watching this now live on this show go click the link that's going by in the live stream chat and go, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, in quotes, on their video, it's nice to, preface it by saying it's because we're going to be covering, and the title normally makes it obvious. I've forgotten what the title is, if I'm honest. Why science is not just a theory, in quotes. So, yeah, let's go on with it. And hopefully they'll reciprocate. If they were to address anything that we cover here today, they'll put a link to my video, which is the main purpose of this. They promote me, as we don't necessarily get any from YouTube. Anyway, let's get into it. Why do I have to put music in? I have to pause it all the way through just in case I get copyright strikes for this stupid intro.
My friend has a theory that Elvis isn't really dead.
Okay, so that's a colloquial theory, so let's just qualify straight away. When we say theory in a scientific context, it means the cause and effect reasoning-based experimentation that's giving you that, quote, theory, as opposed to, I've got a theory about how quick I can go over these speed bumps on my BMX.
He says that Elvis got tired of the limelight and faked his own death. He also has a theory that aliens regularly come to the Earth, but the government keeps their visits a secret. His weirdest theory is that all the leaders of the world are actually shape-shifting extraterrestrial reptiles.
Okay, so this is asinine nonsense that people can just strap the word theory on. I've got this theory that these alien monsters that were 50 times the size of a bus roamed around the planet 3 million years ago. It's just a theory. It's not. It's just a colloquialism in terms of you saying it's just my, in this case, asinine ideas about stuff. Yeah, that's not a theory in scientific context.
Pretending to be human. I have a hunch that my friend only says these things to make himself sound clever down the pub.
No, you see, we wouldn't perceive somebody who says, it's just a theory, when they babble shite. We don't perceive that as being smart.
Could say that I have a theory about my friend's theories.
You could, and it would be the same contextually, because you'd be colloquially describing your asinine ideas about your friend's asinine ideas.
But really, I'm just guessing at what motivates him to say such outlandish things.
Yeah, colloquially a theory. Yeah, you just guessing about it would be your theory, colloquially.
My theory about my friend is just a theory. It could be...
Sorry, when you say just a theory, does adding this word just make it any different contextually when you're talking about asinine ideas that you've put the word theory after? Yeah, colloquially, just your asinine ideas still. Just a theory, not just if it's scientifically based.
Be wrong. Maybe he really does believe the things he says. In which case, there may be other explanations or theories to explain why my friend is such a fan of these conspiracy theories.
Now there's a new term that's qualified it. Rather than just a theory, now we've got conspiracy theories. So more than one person with an asinine idea colloquially, not scientifically. So lots of people having the same asinine ideas. That's a conspiracy theory, okay? Yeah, CIA term used to demean people who have ideas that are often proving to be true. Yeah, you can diminish your opposition by giving them this tag of conspiracy theory. Right, okay. Yeah, when they're hijacking the words of science with theory and then strapping it onto conspiracy, meaning lots of people involved, doesn't alter the fact that colloquially and contextually, up until now in the first 1 minute and 9 seconds of this video, we've only been talking about ideas described by people, labelled as theories.
As for me, I'm a fan of scientific theories.
Should we have a little bet? Right, type 1 in the chat if you think this 1.34 million subscriber-based channel will get the scientific method correct in his next few statements. That is to say, cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis that will be supporting a theory. Let's see if he does that. Type 1 if you think he will. If you think he'll get it wrong and talk about something that isn't necessarily a scientific theory at all, it's just something that's come from the scientific establishment and has gone through perhaps peer review, then type 2 if you think he'll get it completely wrong, arse about face, and not describe cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation.
Like the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, God, I've given it away before he got enough votes. So what, the colloquial ideas, the asinine ideas that are not based on systematic experimentation after forming a hypothesis, this is like your mates down the pub. Yeah? Lemaitre, in this instance. Down the pub, sounding smart. Yeah, so because it's Lemaitre, suddenly it's Big Bang must be scientifically valid. No, you don't need to vote anymore. I pressed play a bit too quickly before the votes were in. Anybody you guessed to in that short period of time, you were bang on. Of course he didn't detail systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis to establish cause and effect reasoning for a phenomenon you've observed in nature. Was he going to do that? No, I did it 3 times in the gap before we even got the vote in. He managed to mention Big Bang Theory. Yeah, well, that's not a theory. That's asinine nonsense. Yeah, if you want to put it into any of the brackets he's already given, conspiracy theory would be the one, because it's lots of people talking asinine nonsense, repeating Lemaitre's nonsense about a Big Bang. Thanks for voting, by the way.
The theory of evolution by natural selection.
Oh, here we go. More asinine theories. And there it is, right after. He's going to lend credence to it with an actual scientific-based, experiment-based theory. That's germ theory.
Theory of disease.
Sorry, just the germ theory of disease. It's just germ theory. Right, germ theory is based on systematic experimentation. So he's peddled in Big Bang, theory of evolution, natural selection, all pseudoscience, and then dropped in germ theory of disease. Yeah, so germ theory is the only one in that's actually got scientific validation to it. But he's got all the pseudosciences strapped right in the former sentence. I love it. Yeah, you're a con man. None of these are science, with the exception of germ theory.
Plate tectonics theory, the theories.
So these aren't theories either. These aren't based on systematic experimentation, forming a hypothesis after observing phenomena. It's just some guy down the pub who's decided to make this crap up.
Of special and general relativity.
Not theories. This is maths. Oh my God. Oh my God. Give him 1.3 million subscribers and make sure that this video gets hundreds of thousands of views. Why? Well, because it's peddling nonsense about what theories aren't, propping up the pseudoscience of what theories aren't, and even interweaving actual scientific-based, experiment-based theories when it comes to germ theory. And that's actually based on science. What a swindle. There's another one. He's going to do it again. Quantum theory. Right, you mean quantum mechanics. That's based on science as well. But what about plate tectonics? Right, general relativity. These aren't based on experiments. Yeah, quantum is. Yeah, quantum mechanics.
And my favourite.
Go on, Brian.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it rich the way that he puts down his made-up friend for having conspiracy theories? And these type of videos, where they put in this kind of silly music, it often, to me, seems like it's like confirmation bias. That what they think is a scientific theory and what they think is valid. You You know, it's like to me, these type of videos are always the same. They always have silly music in there, and it's like they'll always use conspiracy theories as their kind of mirror off of what their theories, which is like general relativity, etc. And none of it is scientific theories, but it kind of bolsters up what they think is science as opposed to what they laugh at, which would be conspiracy theories. Right. Now, I have to say this: I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I don't go around following them. Conspiracy theories, I'm not interested in them. But conspiracy theorists do tend to get things right, whereas none of these people get anything right in reality when it comes to what they prop up as science, which is like, you know, general relativity, etc.
Right. Quick couple of shout outs. So shout out to Essential Goat, who gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, Mr. Sam, Mike 808, Arwin, Slow Motion Moon Buggy, and Dusty Rider all picked them up immediately. Also, shout out to you, Godzilla 37. I have a theory too. Am I now an astrophysicist? Yeah, I mean, if you're wanting to lay down their standards, if you can tie it with some graphs after looking through a telescope, then yes, Godzilla, absolutely you are. Oh wow! Shout out to Jardo, $20. Thank you very much indeed. Germ theory or terrain theory? Germ theory, a load of nonsense. No, germ theory is based on scientific experimentation. Germ theory is science. I have to like it, Jardo, but thank you for the super chat. If you want to see something really funny, I can't remember who your opponent was. I think it was GeoStreber. But Betty Van Velsen, our illustrious leader, against GeoStreber. And she has him absolutely over a barrel with germ theory. It was priceless. And he's appealing to the chat, to somebody who's a scientist, for the maths for germ theory, because he's asserting that maths is reality. Of course he is. He's a globe believer. And she asks him for the maths for germ theory. He goes to the chat to a professor of science, appealing for the maths, and the professor's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to help you with that. It was brilliant. Yeah, I can't remember where to recommend it. If someone knows where to get the link to that, it was absolutely priceless. And, well, let's be honest, Betty is who she is because of what she can do, and now she's done it in the past, and she was doing it before all of us. So if you don't know who Betty's the person who, to you laymen, just the person who runs the Discord server, but she's so much more. So, you know, I don't need to get into how wonderful Betty is. And you might see us giving her crap as well, which is almost as bad, because it doesn't necessarily descend the importance of her and her role when we're just ribbing her. Well, that's just us knowing that we can rib her, but it's almost a respect thing. You know, it's us jabbing her because we know that she's in an authoritative position, and we can just get away with it as the naughty sales reps. Anyway, that's the way it goes with Betty, and I just wanted to give her a quick shout out because of the glorious victories with germ theory when it comes to fighting for science. So yeah, it's one where, yeah, I appreciate Jardy's super chat, but maybe look into germ theory. Also, Retro Bill, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Regarding yesterday's show, ground level gases are allowed to rise before being pulled down, exerting an upward force on helium balloons, which simultaneously have a downward force exerted upon them. Thanks, Danny Faulkner. How is that like a Danny Faulkner claim? Let's just read it again. Ground level gases are allowed to rise before being pulled down, exerting an upward force on helium balloons, which simultaneously have a downward force exerted upon them. Thanks, Danny Faulkner. What is a germ?
Rubbish.
It says, yeah, it's nice that he's put it into super chats for us to read. Oh, just one last one. What is a germ, says Jardo. Maybe we'll go to Adam in a minute, Jardo, but thank you for the super chat. We will definitely clarify it as you're paying for us to do so. Really appreciate all the support, by the way. Thank you for so many super chats and membership giving out and all that stuff. Please share the show, by the way. It's 80 people watching, which would be great if it was 150. Smash that share button.
Can we comment on why they use conspiracy theory? Obviously, it's an inflammatory statement to get the person to shut up or look foolish. But when we say, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Immediately, instead of checking into the meaning of those words and what the questioner is asking, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists. What's going on there, Nathan?
It's just there, like I said, it's a way of demeaning somebody with having a label of kooky. Conspiracy theorist means kooky. So in the pre-show before you guys arrived, we had a list of phrases that British people use. Well, this is a bit like that in what you mean versus what you say. Check out the pre-show if you're not a member. If you are a member, you'll see that in the pre-show. It was quite a laugh, Neil going through all those different phraseologies. But yeah, conspiracy theorist just means kooky idiot. So when you hear that and someone's describing, I don't know, whatever that they have a conspiracy theory for, you'll immediately disregard it out of hand because there's some headline somewhere that already has detailed the vague outline of what that person's going to say with the strapline conspiracy theorist above it. So you'll go, oh yeah, I've heard this. You're one of those conspiracy theorists. All right. You're saying that's flat.
Right.
I've got a vague notion that that's kooky. You're a conspiracy theorist. Why would they lie?
Right, but-
Next question out of that person's mouth.
Right, but if you're going to start off with Elvis as your base to contrast it to, and the next thing you're going to say is, oh, you think the earth is flat? And my friend thought Elvis is still alive. You see what they're doing there? It's not the same thing, but they're doing it because they want to make you look, like you said, kooky, but they never address the questions.
Yeah, I mean, in many respects, that was an issue that recently cropped up between, let me get the characters right, P-Brain and, who was it? Not who the other person was, but it was about Bigfoot. Karen B. So Karen B is saying that we should appeal as flat earthers to the crowd of people that are into Bigfoot because she was into Bigfoot and she found a way to flat earth. Therefore, why not appeal to that audience to, I don't know, increase the numbers when earth's an aspect? I mean, that sort of non sequitur aside, that was her appeal. And P-Brain's response to it is to say, oh, right, so it's not like people already think we're kooky enough and call us conspiracy theorists, aka kooky. Let's hitch our wagon to nutters that say they see a giant ape in the forest. Okay, yeah, that's going to be great.
Okay, so what is your reference to the Feast of Nonsense in this context?
Feast of nonsense is what you get fed when you arrive here. So, for instance, the notion of utilising a specific model, the azimuthal equidistant projection or Gleason's map, so that a globe believer can compare it to the projection in the last stage before it became that flat map of a globe and say, well, that map has come from a globe and doesn't work anyway. Show me how XYZ flight works on a map that works from the centre out with its latitude lines. And that's how it's supposed to work. Well, you can't. It won't work functionally in that way when you plot out a path that's moving in a straight line along one of the circles. Because it won't plot out straight. In the same way as you plot a straight line on a Mercator, it'll actually be a curved path in reality. But if you could take a curved path in reality, you can plot it straight on the map. Or whatever, which way around it goes. You're curving the line of the trajectory you actually take on the map because the straight line is curved in reality, right, on the map grid system. Well, they'll use all these things against you because you've suddenly decided that the map or model that you've been presented with at the Feast of Nonsense is the world. You get tricked into reification fallacies that you can have your opponent take apart based on the validity of the map as opposed to how the ground's measured, which is what we detail. So Feast of Nonsense is pre-qualified arguments given to you in the form of a controlled opposition, manufactured way of arguing your position, pre-made on a plate, ready for you to use when you get here. Why? Well, because it seems like it's a really good argument that you could put to some normie and it might work a few times. But there's people who are into the argument for more than 10 seconds that will know how to overcome your argument when you show them a flat earth map and say that they're hiding it in plain sight at the UN. And they go, all right, show me this flight work on it. And because you've got a rudimentary understanding of how an azimuthal equidistant projection works, you won't even know it's come from a sphere, let alone know that the sphere has come from grid systems taken from flat earth elevation angle measurements to be wrapped around the sphere to then be laid out flat in your azimuthal projection that won't work when you plot straight lines on it for flights, because that's not how the map works. So you end up in this position where you're losing an argument about a map you didn't make, a map you didn't claim, that suddenly you're claiming is the world because of the feast of nonsense you gobbled down and spewed back up to some person that had a slightly better understanding of how maps and models work, enough to say, oh, it's a globe projection. And you go, all right, that means it must be a globe then, because I failed in this crappy argument I've gobbled down at the feast of nonsense.
Yeah, the feast of nonsense is a load of topics that are easy to debate for the opposition. That's what they are.
Yeah. Pre-rehearsed positions for you to take as a flat earther or as an anti-flat earther, because they get their own feast of nonsense. Once they've slid down the hill and realised that there's something not quite right, but they desperately want to scrabble back up to the hill of normality, where all the rest of the normies are blissfully aware looking at the sunsets, they want to be back up there. But they've still got to be indoctrinated with a similar feast of nonsense to our own. And occasionally we see where the overlap comes in. But both of us need to be fed propaganda so we can rattle it off to the opposing side and it be in a never-ending tussle between the people who've fallen down the hill. So what is the hill, metaphorically speaking? It's the lie that we were told and the realisation thereof. Doesn't matter if you come down that hill and are an anti-flat earther like conspiracy cats, tossing and turning about how the world might be lying to you because you can't quite face the reality that they have lied to you. Well, we fall down the hill and go, we've been lied to, but wow, isn't the world a wonderful and fascinating place? Other than all these assholes telling us that we're wrong about the hill we just fell down together. So we all fight amongst ourselves, and no finger of blame gets pointed up the hill. Not to the top of the hill that we just fell down, but to the hill above that, with a castle on it, with people in there, with globes inside, eating steaks. Yeah? Nobody points the finger of blame at anybody other than each other. So what are we doing? We're down here fighting with conspiracy cats. That's why Brian did it about 6 months, maybe even 12 months ago, and just said, sod this. If you want to get into that tussle with us, and you're going to be complete assholes to us, and you're going to start pointing the finger of blame about lies that we've been told about the world we live in derived from flat earth elevation angles, and somehow that's our fault, because you no longer believe the lies you were indoctrinated with, but really, really desperately need to keep them to keep your own sanity, well then, don't point the finger of blame at us, point it up the hill. That's what we've been doing. You know, if you're an anti-flat earther watching this and go, no, I want to tell you how you're evil. Oh, all right, fair enough. We've got sick of that quite a long time ago. Don't get me wrong, there's people who are still in our social circle, like Flatzoid, who address these tossers whenever they do a live stream. And good for Flatzoid. Someone's got to do it. But I'm not interested anymore. I'd rather point the finger of blame to the at least one rung down on the ladder, which is your wizards of the religion, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, in terms of what normie content gets punted out by YouTube, preferred content in this regard, we can just pull apart that and hope that that will in some way promote this channel so that more people get to actually be exposed to the lie and ultimately fall down that hill. Now, if they get to the bottom of the hill and want to start fighting with us because they've inadvertently stumbled across the channel as a result of someone leaving a comment that said Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, then so be it. You know, I didn't make the hill and I'm not going to feel guilty anymore when people fall down it. Like, it's not my hill, right? I didn't put you at the top of it. I didn't dangle a mobile with planets on it above your bed when you were born. I didn't do any of that. So I'm not going to feel any guilt that you found out from me that it isn't the case. What's that? You feel angry because of it? I don't care. I'll go away and be angry somewhere else because I'm sick of it. Yeah, I'm not angry anymore. I don't feel that. I don't feel like I need to go pickaxes and torches to NASA's door asking them why they lied. Like with any deceit, you eventually figure out that the best course of action is to detach yourself completely and to divorce yourself completely from the person that's been peddling the lies to you. In which case, well, that's how my show has developed here. I don't want to cover NASA. Do I want to knock on the doors of the liars? It only assists them when I look at their lies in detail. I don't need to do that to debunk everything they do. Just debunk space and then I never have to talk about NASA ever again. Well, they're the peddlers of the lie. They're the forefront of the media version of the lie. Well, I want to detach myself from liars. They don't benefit your life. At least they don't benefit my life. I'll speak for myself.
All right, so you give them the psychopathy treatment, which is just completely detached. Which
Absolutely.
is very wise because they're never going to change, right? They're never going to change what the problem is.
Exactly. You're not going to get NASA to say, oh yeah, we lied. We'll go and have a look again for you and tell you. Well, thank you for pointing out how deceitful. None of them are going to do that. The deceitful liars, they don't do that. And Alwyn's spot on. The attitude is the attitude I picked up from watching lots of videos about narcissism and psychopathy. Well, the approach is no contact ever again. Don't allow yourself to be triangulated. Well, triangulation in this instance would be people who come and present nasty stuff to us. Oh, I don't want to know about the deceit. So you just divorce yourself from all of it, right? Then you're not influenced by it. The pain dissolves immediately, because you don't care. When you look out at the horizon, you're not worried about whether or not the rockets on the TV that someone else is watching are indoctrinating them to a belief that there's a physical Earth curve edge that they're going over when they dump the rockets into the ocean. You're not concerned anymore. Why? Because you don't know. Ignorance is bliss in that regard. When it comes to deceit, you don't need to expose yourself to this deceit. The fact that you have, and you found your way back out of the deceit, good for you. But then move on. Don't worry about the lies. I know that's anti my own show, because I'm here talking about it daily. But I'm not worried about it ever. Why? Well, because the nature of Earth has realistically got no consequences to the individuals that stand upon it in terms of its aspect. Well, it doesn't affect you. When people say, what does it matter? What difference does it make? None. Nothing. What does matter? The sociological aspects of the lie itself. That's what matters. To you, not me. The ground is just the ground. It's flat. Does that have any bearing on my life? No, I've been walking around on it for quite some time, quite happily, doing my stuff. At the moment, doing my YouTube. Does it matter? No, not really. But in a wider, more broad understanding that you had until this moment, people had deceived you into something completely contrary to that. Now, that is still what it is. Earth's still flat and always was, and you're still going to walk around it and do your job and pay your mortgage tomorrow. But there's a social aspect that you haven't considered. That's that people have deceived you on a massive scale. Your entire worldview was a sham and a lie. Now, that doesn't influence you, and fair enough. Carry on watching complete lies and nonsense that doesn't mean anything, that's only there to scare you and keep you under control, because obviously that has no difference on you. Just keep exposing yourself to the lie. What's the net result of that? Anti-flat earthers. That's the net result of that. Shout out to D-Rose, who says, just one sec. NASA, all in capitals, armed force agencies of new nautical and aerial navigation themselves document in their own official files admission of a non-rotating flat Earth. Yep, they've got to deal with Earth as flat. That's what it is. They're going to disclaim it to the people who are actually dealing with it, because if they have the idea that there's a void opening up ahead of them at 9.8 meters, at 9.8 meters, at 8 inches per mile squared, then there's an area that they could fly in that isn't really there. There isn't really space there at all. There's the ground to crash into, because we're actually dealing with a flat plane, not an area opening up ahead of you at 8 inches per mile squared. There you go, got it right the second time.
Well, I'd just like to step back to...
Sorry.
Go on, Brian.
1 second, Chocolate. I'll be quick. Just want to step back to the flat earthers and anti-flat earthers who fall down that hill and then pick up their own version, the two feasts of nonsense that are there for them, the one for the flat earthers and the one for the anti-flat earthers. What happens there is it's a double delight for the deceptor, because what happens is it stops the person looking in the mirror, as opposed to being able to look in the mirror and go, what do I actually know that I can actually prove? You know what I mean? You end up having all these new things that are just as ridiculous as the old things in some ways. They might be a little bit closer to reality, but they're still stupid things that aren't going to help you in the long run. Regardless, even if any of them have any validity, you can't support whether they have any validity. Ice walls and domes and all this. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do about it.
And conspiracy theories is, we will get to you, Chocolate. But 10th was saying, all right, how did it tie with the brush of conspiracy theory? Well, when I got here, what was it, 2014, 15, something like that, there was clone centers, Mandela effect, all of it being offered up right next to flat Earth. So you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of crap around this, isn't there? Well, that's totally intentional. Why? Well, because at the Feast of Nonsense back in 2014, the people who were there going, nom, 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 flat Earth, nom, 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 clone centers, what, there could be a clone of Taylor Swift, just idiots, gobbling down whatever crap they came across, because the first thing they found, flat Earth in this instance, made a bit of sense to them. They didn't have a real deep understanding of it, but what they did see was Mandela effect. Tasty. Yum, 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 yum. I'll spew that up too.
Well, I think, Nathan, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Sorry, Chocolate, just very quickly before you get in. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, because if we want to suggest this to you weeks ago, to actually maybe do a reaction videos to some of the bigger conspiracy theorists and videos out there, because they're very much on par with the heliocentric videos that we do here. They're like, they just take those same heliocentric concepts and start adding in some conspiracy around it. But it's just as much nonsense, and some of those channels have just as many subscribers.
I'm way ahead of you. So about 3 months ago, maybe a bit longer, I started thinking exactly those lines, but thinking what is an aspect that I could get into that's got mainstream appeal and understanding, but directly linked to heliocentric faith. Well, the answer is Scientology. The problem is I don't want to necessarily cover it until I've got a really good understanding of it. So, 3 months into watching a few videos on it, I'm not going to claim to be some Scientology expert, but I totally agree, Brian. There's going to be other aspects of conspiracy that we can go through and directly address how, David Icke's using aspects of heliocentrism to claim we've got, a base in the moon. All right, well, that would revolve around the notions of heliocentrism. So you just pull apart his claims based on the failings in heliocentrism, and what you're doing is a double whammy. Anybody who types in David Icke debunked comes across us debunking the conspiracy theory that they were so elated to see get pulled apart because they want to call him a conspiracy theorist. But the debunking isn't actually what they thought they were going to get, because it's pulling apart the notions of not being able to describe heliocentric orbits, or the church giving you the timings for Easter with orbital motions and assumptions of Venus being the same size as Earth, and all of the things that we would debunk heliocentrism with, just directed towards debunking their conspiracy theory, incorporated within the heliocentric faith that they hold. They just didn't realise it.
Flat Earth's had an impact there as well.
Into your mic.
Sorry. The David Icke comment, pre-COVID, that it was put to him, and he wasn't saying it's flat. He was just describing all sorts of possibilities now, as opposed to that very much heliocentric paradigm that he painted. But he's very careful there now. It's not like the David Wilcoxes; they're still out there with diminished views, but I think there's an impact been made there, solely because his son Gareth's a big flat earther, I think.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd seen that change, but yeah, Gareth's a flat earther, so I'm sure he's pestered the shit out of his dad and had fun pointing out all of the flat earth issues for him.
Oh, well, maybe he's a sympathetic ear. Not that I necessarily care about who we get endorsements from. David Icke is just the same as Next Man. Again, we'd take what he said at face value based on the subject he was talking about, as opposed to his past experiences and talking about being Jesus or whatever he did on Wogan.
Well, I wouldn't even consider David Icke even to be the first choice. Actually, far from it. There's a good few other conspiracy theorists who are in America who are far more heliocentric than David Icke, and what they talk about and have been talking about for years, it's purely heliocentric. So he wouldn't be my first choice. There'd be loads before him. Just said it's more the thought.
Did you know I talked to David Icke like in 2011, face to face, and I was already into flat Earth. Then I forgot about it again. But like, he's very neutral about it. He's not an anti-flat earther. He's like, oh yeah, sure, your ideas, I'll stick to mine. That's like what he's like with it.
Speaking of Arwin, Godzilla37 says, I have a theory that Arwin is a millionaire. Help make this theory scientific fact by having all your friends PayPal him and their friends and their friends and their friends. Let's do this.
I agree. I agree. Let's do it.
Yeah, links to PayPal for Arwin are not below this video, but you can subscribe today to Arwin for daily early bird shows that go out before this debate. So check it out. Thanks for
currently on D Live, but I'll be back on YouTube tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay. Right, let's do a bit more
Good
of this
morning,
video.
guys.
Hey, Chocolate. Oh, yeah, ages ago I said that you could get a point in, and then I've forgotten you, haven't I? My bad. Go ahead. 100 people watching, though. Timing.
So I'm not even sure I remember the point now. It's been like so long. Something about when you brought up I don't know who said it, the super chat about the documents NASA's documents and stuff. But I just wanted to say that that's one of my favorite things when I first got into this is watching the Globers, how they had to try to scramble and give reasons as to why all these military documents, NASA documents, all these things say that we take the Earth as a flat stationary plane. It was one of my favorite things because it's like, oh, because the math is simple and blah blah blah. It's like this doesn't, and it's funny because it didn't. That type of thing doesn't really register with normies. Like you don't really know that until you get into this topic, and then you realize how many of these official military and NASA documents say that it's just flat and stationary. That's how they take it anyway. And it's like watching the Globers all these years trying to scramble for that. It's been one of my favorite things. So I just wanted to add that. But that was not long ago. So.
Some people say that these are just theories, and
Yeah, we do. We distinguished the ones that were scientific, though, didn't we? We pointed out the colloquial theories and qualified them versus the scientific ones.
believe that they have not been proven by science.
No, they hadn't, with the exception of germ theory. Was there another one? I forget. But from my memory, you only had one that actually had... Oh, no, you had quantum mechanics in there too. So, yeah, you had a couple that were backed by science.
Sorry, he might be adding in quantum field theory into that, so it's a dodgy area.
God, not that again.
I'm
He
sure
didn't
he
say
will.
quantum mechanics, he said quantum theory.
He did.
They talk and think about them as somehow inferior ideas about how the world works because they're called theories, rather than...
No, it's down to the qualification of whether or not they've been based on a phenomena that you want to know the cause of, the formulation of a hypothesis with an alternative and null, and then the variation of that which you assume causes the effect in what's known as an experiment to validate either the alternative or the null, so that you can then form a scientific theory. The rest of them are men down the pub talking about how all the world came out of nothing. That's mathematically dividing by zero and getting everything in the known existence. Because you had in your list Big Bang. Right, that's a guy down the pub saying everything came out of nothing. Why? Because he made it up himself. Yeah, that's a colloquial theory, not backed by systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing a phenomena that you want to know the cause of and validated the cause by varying it and causing the effect, aka experiment. That's science. That's the scientific method. That's what we validate the claim of theory with, because that's the only standard here. For you put up what? Facts, proven, talk about them, laws. These things aren't science. Systematic experimentation based on hypothesis, that's science.
rather than say facts or laws. But these people are mistaken. It's not entirely their fault. It's because the word theory doesn't mean quite the same thing in the world of science as it does when used in general conversation.
Yeah, but you've just used it and interchanged it between the two when you convoluted theory of relativity with germ theory. One of those has got scientific validation and one hasn't.
Where it can mean a guess or a hunch or something that isn't quite known for sure.
No. No, that's part of the scientific experimentation-based, hypothesis-based method. So making a guess would be you suppose the cause of the effect you're studying. That's part of the method. It's not the method, it's not the entire method, it's not one isolated part that you could call the method if you did just that. It's just one section of the scientific method. Suppose the cause of the effect. It's your A statement in the alternative when you form a hypothesis. If A, your supposed assumption of the cause, then the effect you're studying, that's B. You also have a null. If A, the supposed cause, your supposition, your presupposed cause that you haven't validated yet, then not effect, that's not B. Both can't be true. So when you vary A and C if it causes B, it either causes it or doesn't and validates the null or validates the alternative. That's how science works. So you've got to assume a cause to put it through the method.
When scientists call something a
Nathan.
theory, they mean...
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Darwin.
sorry. So this is very ironic. I mean, he's pointing out the difference between the use of the word science while he gets it wrong. So he's misapplying it and then pointing out basically what he's doing wrong without realizing that it is what he is doing. This
Yes,
is
exactly.
ridiculous.
I'm
Yeah, I
reading
noticed
it
that.
slightly different. I'm reading he's trying to make the distinguishment between a colloquial theory and a theory, a scientific theory, whilst trying very hard not to mention experiment as being integral in that, because in his theories, relativity and Big Bang Theory, he's not going to have experiments. I'm just getting the feeling he's trying to make that distinguishment, but not able to do so because the true distinguishment that it's based on empiricism and experiment to form maybe lots of experiment to form the theory is kind of undermines what his theories he's going to cite are that have this credibility score he's demonstrating.
In a set
Because
of
surely that
ideas
credibility axis is only the experiments that
Yes.
back up the theory.
Yeah. That's the defining factor for whether or not you've got a theory, if you've got a validated experiment. He hasn't said that yet. We've said it multiple times.
does three things. One, a scientific theory puts forward a comprehensive explanation.
That's incorrect. So a theory isn't an explanation. It's only an explanation if you've had a scientifically validated hypothesis validated through experiment. So you can't start with theory. Yeah? That's the end, not the beginning. So it doesn't put something forward, it describes what you did in the experiment that's been validated. So he's confusing theory with a bastardized hypothesis, because a hypothesis isn't an explanation either, because you've got both the null and the alternative, which are in contradiction to one another. It violates the law of non-contradiction if you use it as an explanation. But he's describing that as though that's a theory. Wrong on both counts.
For things we observe in nature. Two,
No, things we observe in nature are just things we observe in nature. Like birds. That's something I observe in nature. Is it a phenomena? No, birds aren't a phenomena. That's a concrete noun. It's just a bird. But if you're putting something through the method of science to establish a cause of an effect, then it's something happening in nature. That's step one, observe natural phenomena.
a scientific theory provides strong evidence for that explanation.
No, the evidence would be the outcome of the experiment. That's your evidence in the scientific method. You have a phenomena, you assume you know what's going to cause it, you go forth to validate that presumed cause of the effect by varying it. If it does cause the effect, that's scientific evidence. The validated outcome of an affirmed scientific-based experiment. That's evidence in science. Yeah, not what the theory describes when you bastardize what a hypothesis is when you describe it as an explanation and call it a theory. You got it completely arse about face. Just going to shout out this super chat and then I'm going to tell the audience who've just joined us what we're doing. Just ordered a centrifuge for my plasma experiment. Somebody who's obviously a regular on the show. Thank you for the super chat. Identify verification. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Bit of an in-joke, but still, if you're paying, more power to you. Okay, so, right, let's get back to this. He's completely thrown me with that, but it was funny.
And three, perhaps most importantly, a scientific theory provides ways to make predictions.
Told you. No, the prediction stage is the hypothesis stage. It predicts the cause of the effect. It also predicts that your supposition won't cause the effect. That's what a prediction is. A scientific prediction is a hypothesis. This guy's saying the prediction stage comes in theory. No, you just saw stories relabeled as theory, like relativity.
This is what's validating, relativity, astrophysics. This is their way. So we make an observation, we make a prediction from that observation, and if we still observe the prediction, then the initial theory was correct. That's kind of their observational based validation, which is all you can do in astrophysics, isn't it?
Right. Observe and declare. Make up a just so story. Call it a theory. And then justify it with this garbage. No, well, it works for 1.3 million subscribers until we come along and say, no, that's not what science is. You know, it's not a justifiable explanation, aka just so story. Because your prediction in a hypothesis would be a supposition that's yet to be validated that has both the predicted cause of the effect and the antithesis, that's a null, i.e. it won't cause the effect if you vary it. So it's definitely not an explanation. There isn't any explanation. There's only scientific evidence at the end of the process if you validate your cause.
It sounds like a lot of the time they're just interested in making predictions that predict other predictions that make more predictions. It's kind of silly. It's like they did a fantastic okie doke between making predictions and actually validating something. Or it's, I don't know, every time I hear them say, oh, this theory, quote unquote, makes predictions, therefore it's true. It's like, are you actually making predictions or are you just recognizing patterns? Because that's the okie doke. Oh, we recognize a pattern. That's a prediction we made, and therefore the theory based on that prediction is validated. It's like, no, you saw the sun come up. It came up again and again and again. That's just recognizing a pattern. That's not making a prediction.
You see, I can make a prediction with germ theory because of some of the validation. But I think that's very different to what he's postulating here. He's trying to postulate further understanding by more observation and predicting an observation. That's not what you do using the scientific knowledge you've gained, or let's say with germ theory. You're not going to use it to make an uninformed prediction. Your prediction will be based on the evidence, the experiment you had to make that prediction. I.e., if I cough on this agar plate and stick it in a warm place, it'll grow. It's based on that, not what's happening here, which is to take one observation that we like the explanation of, and then go and make a further prediction on based on something else we might see. And if we see it, it proves everything. Very different use of prediction.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many times over the years have you heard a glober say, oh, we have a globe model and it works because it makes predictions, right? That's like their disclaimer all the time for their quote-unquote globe model.
Yeah, because like how it's justified, he's saying predictions are theories when they're not. They're hypotheses, and they have the antithesis of the prediction, so they can't be called explanations, because you can't have A cause B and A not cause B, which is what an alternative and a null is in a scientific prediction. Yeah, they just take models and pseudoscience, strap on the word prediction, strap on the word theory, as in relativity in this example, and steal valor from the actual sciences that have given them advancements in humanity. That's what the actual sciences have given people. One of the examples is germ theory. Right, let's just give the actual process that we would like to go on here a quick plug, which is to say that we're reacting to the Royal Institution channel, which is a very highly subscribed to channel, and is absolute asinine nonsense about what a theory is when it comes to scientific validity. So let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a comment. Maybe say, we really enjoyed watching your video over on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel where they responded to it. Gave you a like, or whatever you want to say to not get your comment deleted. But more importantly, if the person was ever to respond, and is the case with all of these response videos that we make, we would hope that they would do the same, return the favour, and put a link to Nathan Oakley 1980 channel in their video. When they say, oh, no, when I said theory, and then described a hypothesis as an explanation, I actually was right because of this citation that says that astrophysicists say that when they make up a story and call it a theory, that makes it science. Therefore, I'm right. Subscribe today to Nathan Oakley. Here's a link to his channel.
About the aspects of the world it explains, which we can then test by further observation. In everyday conversation,
you don't test by observation. Okay? To test, you vary that which you assume causes the effect and see if it causes it. How do you test by observation? So you see something happening. Oh, volcano. Look away. Look back at volcano. Is that testing by observation? No. Testing something means variation and manipulation of the assumed cause of the effect in nature you are studying. That's what you do. That's you as a researcher taking your A statement, if A, and taking A, which must be physically manipulatable by you, the researcher, and the A statement in your hypothesis, your supposed cause. It's also the A statement in your null, that is to say your presumed cause when varied won't cause the effect. It must be real. No gravity as an A statement, because you can't vary and manipulate something that doesn't exist beyond mathematics. Those are the prerequisites for something to be varied in an experiment. And if you do cause the effect you're studying, that's evidence, scientific in nature, that can form theory.
We can dismiss someone's idea about something by...
No, you don't dismiss ideas. You dismiss and disqualify that which you can only rule out upon experimentation. So the dismissal is the dismissal of the null hypothesis, because it can't simultaneously hold true that A does not cause B if you vary A and it causes B. It violates the law of non-contradiction. So the only part of a scientific-based process that's going to give you empiricism that has a discounting element to it is discounting the null or alternative if you prove it to be true in the contrapositive. So if you prove your null to be true, that's A doesn't cause B, then automatically you can't assert that A does cause B, meaning you discount the alternative. That's where it comes into the process. Bearing in mind that we have got, what, just under 25,000 subscribers in this channel with people listening to us. This guy's got 1.34 million, and he's talking this utter garbage, totally incorrect, wrong, with pictures of mathematicians like Einstein.
Saying it's just a theory.
No, just a colloquial theory versus scientifically validated experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena.
We can't dismiss the theories of Darwin and Einstein.
Yeah, we can, because they've got no scientific validity to them. They're men down the pub with stories. It's a great video, 10th.
Other great scientists in the same...
Great scientists? So people who have applied the scientific method to cause and effect reasoning after observing phenomena, these men are not that. You wouldn't know a scientist if it slapped you around the face. You don't know what science is. But this is preferred content on YouTube. Yeah, this is what YouTube promotes. It's utter nonsense. We, meanwhile, won't get the slightest bit of promotion. Won't be finding our way into anybody's lists that haven't already heard of us. But for the fact that you've gone to his channel and said Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Meanwhile, this will be propped up as preferred content by YouTube when it's utterly incorrect.
Way. In science, an idea about how the world works usually only gets accepted as a theory once it's been tested and shown to be supported by observations and other evidence.
No, testing is an experiment. The ideas don't get tested. The presumed cause of effects get tested to form theories. Whether or not they're accepted is you convoluting the idea of men around a table agreeing with each other about some maths and whether or not it's our reality versus the systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis that is the actual scientific method. This is an outrage.
Things that are distinctly lacking from theories about Elvis's continued existence.
What, the colloquial ideas of asinine men versus the asinine theories of men that said that everything was born out of nothing when you divide by zero in maths of Big Bang? Both equally stupid. Neither backed by science.
Alien visits to the Earth and shape-shifting reptiles.
Alien visits from a sky vacuum-based heliocentric system, with relativity being a part of it. Yet you do have aliens in your world of a sphere and a sky vacuum. But yet you're dropping that in like it's an asinine theory. It's part of your globe world.
It's running the world. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't make sense to belittle an idea in science by...
Yeah, an idea in science. Yeah, an idea in science, if you want to loosely qualify it as such, would be your idea about what causes a phenomenon you've seen in nature and want to study. Your idea yet to be validated. That's about as loose as you can get to the connection of the scientific method, which you definitely aren't doing. What bloody outrage. Why are we stuck at the bottom of the lists never getting recommended? And this guy's getting 1.34 million subscribers. What the hell is going on with the world?
By saying it's just a theory.
No, by saying it's not science. You putting quote marks around just a theory, because when someone comes up with something about Elvis, you can say that's just a theory. But when someone says something about everything coming out of nothing, you can say that's science, when it isn't. Science is the application of the scientific method, cause and effect reasoning based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena to validate it and form a theory.
Because when scientists refer to an idea as a theory...
Oh, right, that's when the pseudoscience comes in. when scientists, in quotes, refer to an idea. No, ideas aren't theories. Your idea about what might cause an effect might be called a hypothesis, but a theory is based on the experiment that's been validated that you haven't detailed.
Theory, well, they're giving it the highest praise it can have.
So are you when you call relativity a theory. Yeah? When people tell us that gravity's got theory behind it and science behind it. When the globe Earth itself is exclaimed to have the whole body of science behind it. You're right. That's just stealing valor from an actual method of empiricism known as the scientific method. Gotta pause it, otherwise the music might get me a strike. That was it. Well, we ripped out an absolute new one. Go and let this person know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. It's the only way we get any promotion. Because this numpty dipshit has managed to get 1.34 million subscribers by being wrong about every single aspect of science. By convoluting and blurring the lines between pseudoscience just so stories that he calls theories versus pseudoscience just so stories from men down the pub that are no different. Didn't detail what science actually was, but let him know we really enjoyed his video over at Flat Earth Debate when we responded to it.
Well, you detailed it, Nathan. So why don't you have these million subscribers?
I don't know, Neil, and I'm quite bitter about it.
Me too.
That whole video, the man that made that, what a pointless video. It was purely, as I said early into it, purely confirmation bias for himself and whoever follows that kind of rubbish. You know, silly music and a lot of talk about what they deem as some kind of validated topics. You know, it's ridiculous. The heap of nothing. Whoa. And that got I don't know how many thousand views. It's a nothing video. Absolute nothing but silly music. That's what it was.
No, actually, that music was because he was at a pub and it was the background noise.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, gifted memberships, and all that good stuff. Of course, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. What are you guys in the live stream still doing? Click on the link. Go and let that guy know at the Royal Institution Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Seriously, what are you still doing here? Go, now. Click the link. Tell him.